Thank you all so much for being here. For those of you who don't know, I'm Leo Milmet, and I was Arlene's friend for almost 14 years, and I spent 10 years, roughly, on the board of directors of the Well in the Desert, working closely with Arlene. And I suppose I have to get this out of the way. One, that's true. Two, it's also true that I'm 20 years old. I knew Arlene since I was basically a baby, and she was the most amazing role model I could have asked for. Arlene used to say, I run two organizations. One feeds the body and one feeds the soul. Well, she fed my soul. She would then elaborate that the Well in the Desert provides the unhoused and impoverished with the basic needs for survival, food, clothing, shelter, and that opera arts provides us with music, art, and culture. Arlene would say that perhaps we could live without music and art, but we would be something less than ourselves. Physically nourished, but emotionally a little hollow. And thus, Arlene's leadership of both the Well and opera arts reflected her beautiful sense of the human condition and our immense capacity for love. Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, "What a piece of work is man! How noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals." These words describe not only humankind's capacity for greatness, which Arlene was able to see in everyone, but also Arlene and her daily work at the Well. For me, knowing Arlene was in the world, tirelessly working to advocate for the unhoused population in the streets and in the hearts and minds of ordinary people in the community, was an immense comfort to me. If I ever encountered someone in need, I could point them to the Well in the Desert where their needs could actually be met on a long-term or on a short-term basis, all because Arlene orchestrated a complex organization full of individuals who were united under the common purpose of helping others. Often the staff was composed of former clients who Arlene had mentored on an individual level, just as she had mentored myself and so many others in her life. When I first met Arlene, I was a precocious 7-year-old kid who felt comfortable talking to anyone. That wasn't always a good thing, by the way. But I felt equally comfortable whether they were a client or a donor. But Arlene saw in me my best self, an empathetic and caring young man who had a lot of questions and a lot of ideas. Most of them were silly because I was 7, but some of them were okay. Arlene was always forward-thinking enough to take the good ones and fiery enough to shoot down the rest in a respectful and considerate way. Trust me, for those of you who knew her, you did not mess with Arlene. In 2011, however, Arlene went to my mom and offered me a spot on the board of directors. So my mother just looked in Arlene's eyes and said, "Am I being pranked?" Fool's folly was yesterday, Arlene. But she wasn't being pranked. And from that moment on, if I ever needed Arlene's truly sage-like advice, whether it had anything to do with the Well or not, I could call Arlene and we'd talk for an hour or two about whatever was going on, whatever was on our minds. Often this went the gamut from daily issues to philosophical questions about the existence of God or the merits of various foreign auteur filmmakers like Ingmar Bergman and Federico Fellini. For many of you, the Arlene Rosenthal you knew and loved was a titanic force, the larger-than-life queen of tough love, always fighting tooth and nail for the rights of people who couldn't fight for themselves. But I know that in this regard, Arlene's legacy will live on in the valley through the Well. So for me, I will more often find myself missing the calm, loving, sensitive, beautiful human who could sit across from me at a dinner table next to Arlene Zimmerman, the love of her life, and just smile. One smile from Arlene could radiate love and warmth on a truly magnificent scale that I've never seen in other human beings. I will cherish her memory for the rest of my life, for that reason and many others. And because of that, I now urge you all, if you ever find yourself at a serious moral quandary, to do what I do sometimes and ask myself, what would Arlene say? How would Arlene use this problematic situation I'm in to help everybody else? How can I think less of myself and more of everyone else? How can I see everyone as a human being with the right to dignity and love and care and respect? Don't worry. You're going to occasionally fall short of the what would Arlene do standard. Don't worry. Everybody does it. Every single one of you, I can safely say, will fall short of what would Arlene do. Because Arlene was one of a kind. But I know she will live on as an angelic voice in the hearts of everyone lucky enough to know her like I did. Arlene Rosenthal was truly a gift to us all. Now, finally, I'd like to use this opportunity to tell you just a tiny bit about two of Arlene's clients, because Arlene was so truly selfless and beautiful that after hearing this speech about her, I know that she would absolutely scream at me if I didn't make it about one of the clients just for a little while. So I'm going to do that. Over a decade ago, there was a man named Daryl who was homeless, struggling on the street, lived a very troubled life. And forgive me if I'm hazy on the details, it was over a decade ago, but with the help of Arlene and the well, he was able to seek help at various places, and eventually he found a job at Lulu, the restaurant, working as a busboy and then as a server. And Arlene and I used to go to Lulu pretty often, and always Daryl would give us a big hug because he never forgot that Arlene helped him every step of the way. She saw in him this poor fellow on the street someone extraordinary, and he is someone extraordinary. He kept that job at Lulu after Arlene helped him get it ever since. And personally, I credit Arlene with saving Daryl's life and helping him find meaning in his own existence. She found this extraordinarily hardworking man with such kindness in his heart, and she found a way to help him. I realized that we might become desensitized to the fact that she helped one man because she's helped thousands. But the important part is that the same could be said for thousands. Really, think about that. Thousands of wonderful clients over the years. I only choose Daryl because we would see him afterwards. We saw the full results of what Arlene had done. But this was a man who was representative of thousands that this one woman helped. Another example is a woman named Twyla, who was a homeless woman who was a real matriarch of the homeless community at the well in the desert. She always used to say, "I just want off the street and a place to rest my head." And when Twyla passed away a couple of years ago, Matt Naylor, who had recently become vice president of the well and is a very talented musician, had become inspired to write a song called "Off the Street." Eventually, he called up Jeannie Cunningham, a friend of Arlene's, as well as Gary Powers and Dan Kerrigan, and from this song, the four of them created a musical play called Off the Street, which premieres this weekend. As you might expect, Arlene was so incredibly supportive of this marriage of music and activism, her two great loves in life, that she apparently used to tell Matt that after the title song was created, whenever she was feeling down, whenever it felt like she couldn't help enough, she wasn't able to do it all. Or maybe there was a personal issue in her life, a health issue, whatever. She would sit down and she would listen to Matt's recording of the song, Off the Street. And because of that, I think it would be great of us to welcome Matt Naylor to come up and play two songs from his musical work, Off the Street. Please, Matt, thank you.